So, I just saw Jurassic World Dominion, and I'm gonna let you all know now, before we get started, I did not really like this movie. So, if you're expecting a positive review, go somewhere else. They really did it. They have managed to yet again make another Jurassic Park movie that gets more and more boring as it goes on. I think if you had to ask me the best order of these films, like if I had to rank them from top to bottom, which ones are the best, this one's probably like smack dab in the middle. And that really sucks because this movie had so much potential, and we're going to kind of get into that. This movie failed to give us anything new for the dinosaurs to do, which honestly should tell people enough to just stay away until you can stream it. I'd say the first half is actually pretty good. It's setting everything up. We're seeing dinosaurs, kind of like interacting with humans in the wilderness, like on the mainland, which is all people have ever really wanted. And then the second half goes the same route as Fallen Kingdom, where you feel like you're in for something good and it just doesn't really deliver. This one's better though because it actually uses its returning characters effectively. Unlike Fallen Kingdom, Jeff Goldblum actually has something to do. But I'm more invested in the characters from the last movie, which is kind of weird. Like Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. They're the ones that are actually driving the plot of the movie, at least the plot you should care about. But I don't really want to get into spoilers yet, but on screen you have my ranking of all the Jurassic Park movies if you want a quick guide reference, but I don't really know where to begin with this one. You'd think after the last film we would get a whole lot more of humans having to coexist with dinosaurs, but the bulk of the film honestly takes place in some isolated island in Italy, which, okay, cool. But the problem is, like, their marketing doesn't reflect that at all. You see, like, Owen running away on a motorcycle, people trying to capture wild dinosaurs, and that's, like, so much more interesting. Just seeing people, like, trying to run away and survive and, like, live. Like, they made an entire short film that was, like, people in an RV being attacked by, like, a Potosaurus or something like that. I don't remember the name of the dinosaur. But, like, I would have liked to see people have to, like, be afraid to go outside because, like, there's a pterodactyl, like, on the roof across the street or something. Like, we're not going to the soccer game today, kids. There's a velociraptor in the backyard. Like, give me stuff like that, like, instead of this whole evil scientist corporation guy wants to do evil science things, because it's that all over again. And it's just like, they're not even going to take the time to explain the science super well like the originals. Like, they made, like, an entire little short film almost inside of the first Jurassic Park, and you don't really get anything like that with the sequels, so I wish they would just stop trying with the science and just give us the dinosaurs. But, ever since The Lost World, or The Lost Kingdom, all I've ever heard is people, they just want dinosaurs on the mainland, and this film gives you some of that very little. And that's a shame, because this movie could have been so much more. And we're going to kind of get into spoilers now, so if you want to know my overall score, it's a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 movie. Okay, anyway, spoilers now. So, this movie is picking up after Fallen Kingdom, where Maisie, the little girl who released the dinosaurs, is living with Claire and Owen, and they're raising her like their daughter, essentially. And so apparently people are out there looking for her now. Like, she was a clone, and that was, like, kept secret, really, but apparently secret's out, and people are trying to find her because, they're like, ooh, this is, like, super important. Like, this is a clone. We gotta figure out, like, what this means for science and everything. And it's like, they don't have good intentions, so they're evil, blah, 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 generic Jurassic Park villains from the last two movies. Anyway, the more interesting thing is that Blue the Velociraptor has somehow reproduced an exact clone of herself, because she has lizard DNA, which, based on the first movie, I thought it was frog DNA, but maybe they changed it over time from, like, the originals to now. But anyway, the baby Velociraptor and the little girl get kidnapped, so Owen is like talking to Blue, and he's like, I promise I'm going to get this dinosaur back, and somehow she understands and runs off, and we don't see her pretty much for the rest of the movie. Anyway, We cut to a scene where there's locusts, like, that just sprawl up out of this random field where these kids are, like, feeding chickens. And we find out that, like, this same company that's kidnapped these kids is, like, trying to control the food supply of the entire planet. The plot has nothing to do with, like, dinosaurs being a major threat or having to preserve them. Ellie Statler and Alan Grant are brought into this plot because of genetically engineered locusts that will not eat seeds or crops planted by this guy. He's just got dinosaurs on an island. If this was like James Bond, this would be a Bond villain. Like, this guy would be a Bond villain. He is just, like, trying to collect all these freaking dinosaurs for fun, I guess, because, like, they're not really his main priority. His main priority is, like, bioengineer and genetic science, which, okay, sure, but this is a film series called Jurassic Park. People want dinosaurs. It's like the writers and director, they just don't really get that, so you're just kind of having to deal with that. But anyway, there's a lot of really fun scenes with the dinosaurs, though. So I don't want to say, like, this movie's just, like, entirely bad. Nobody will want to watch it, but I mean, honestly, like, when this comes out, like, on streaming, if I watch it again, I'm just gonna fast forward to the parts with the dinosaurs, because, like, there's really cool moments with them, and I'd like to see more of that. Like, there's a moment where Owen is, like, chasing after some dinosaurs on horseback, and they're trying to, like, capture them and send them to places that are safe, because there's, like, black market dealings going on, and people are, like, capturing these dinosaurs. And there's a really cool scene where they're trying to get information on where they've taken the baby velociraptor and the girl, and we see, like, a dinosaur fight pit. We see people, like, hauling dinosaurs off and trading them, and, like, people are eating exotic dinosaur meat and things like that. And I'm like, that's super cool. I like seeing humans, like, finding ways to use these dinosaurs to their advantage or whatever. One thing that we did not see, which seems weird that we wouldn't, because the last movie and the first one in this trilogy made it seem like dinosaurs being used in war would be a big thing. We don't see anything of, like, any military or government using dinosaurs in any way for war. And I know that doesn't make sense, considering you have, like, tanks and actual, like, air fighters. But that's something they established in the last two movies, and I don't know about you guys, but I would have loved to see, like, the U.S. Army just roll up on the back of a Triceratops and just, like, no-scope a dude, like, in the Middle East, and he's just, like, got a velociraptor and it just eats him or something, you know? Because, like, they would totally do that if we had dinosaurs in this day and age. We would totally use animals. That would be awesome. Anyway, the villain is, like, super capitalist, greedy bad guy, like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk type. Like, you could honestly just replace him with, like, the Monopoly Man and, like, just play his audio, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's him. Anyway, the plot is just, like, super contrived. You get, like, all these convenient moments where the characters are, like, in danger, but then everything works out okay. And they're all separated at different points. Like, the pilot that flies Claire and Owen to the island, she gets separated with Owen, and Claire is, like, forced to eject out of the plane. Like, you can see that in the trailer. There's that weird pelican-looking dinosaur. And that scene's actually pretty good. I think I actually like that scene more than the scene where they're being chased throughout the city, because it's actually tense. Like, you actually think, wow, this is the last movie in this trilogy and probably the whole series. They might actually kill some of these characters off, because, you know, you would think that in the final movie, this is where the stakes would be at their highest, and it doesn't really feel like it, you know? Like, not even the side characters that are with our main characters are at risk of dying. Like, no one dies in this movie except for, like, the head evil guy and I think just some random background characters during the chase scene on the motorcycle. People die there, but, like, no like, actual main character or even side characters die except for the one villain. And that's just, like, boring and disappointing, I guess. You know, like, I remember, like, in the other movies, you would have side characters that are kind of likable, and you feel bad when they get eaten by the dinosaurs because they're helping the main characters. But you don't really get that here. And that just feels like, wow, we had this pilot that we could have killed. We had these other characters we could have killed that aren't important to the story. They were introduced in this movie. Like, there's this one guy who's helping the original characters, and he's just this random dude that's been, like, kind of working undercover. It's just like, oh, you know, this guy could end up dying because he's still on the island when they're all trying to escape. But no, he escapes with them at the end, and it's like, we really aren't going to lose any of the good guy characters, and that just seems unrealistic. There's especially a scene where Claire is being cornered by that one dinosaur that, like, spits venom or whatever, and the one that killed the guy in the first movie, one of the more iconic dinosaurs. There's like 3 of them in this scene, and like, it's about to, like, eat her. And Owen comes in out of nowhere because they were separated. He grabs it by, like, the neck and just, like, basically, like, shoves it away. And they just run off. And I'm like, wow, there is just extreme plot armor in this film. That's honestly the easiest way to describe it. There is plot armor after plot armor after plot armor. Because these characters are not in any real danger. Like, no one dies. And that just seems ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Like, the science guy dies, and that's, like, right near the end. And that's kind of it. There's a few jokes that are okay. And the one that I would say sums it up is when they're talking about how the newer characters worked at Jurassic World. And Dr. Ian Malcolm almost basically is looking at the screen, like, just dead staring into the camera. And Jeff Goldblum goes, Jurassic World, not a fan. And I think that's how I'm going to sum this movie up. Not a fan. Alright, everybody, thank you for watching. This is a new thing that I did. I don't know if I'll do more of these type of reviews for the channel. Anyway, thank you and goodbye.